I thought I was just getting a massage. Until the guy casually confessed to sleeping with a married woman who sounded a lot like my wife. We were the couple everyone thought had it all figured out. Nice house in the suburbs. 2 cars. No kids by choice. We both had decent jobs, took vacations once or twice a year, hosted game nights with friends. You know, solid, normal, boring in all the right ways. My wife, Claire, had always been a little high maintenance, but I didn't mind. She liked her yoga, her green juices, and those endless skincare routines that made the bathroom smell like a botanical garden exploded. Whatever made her happy. Me? I'm more of a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. I work in IT, I grill on Sundays, I complain about football referees like it's a personality trait. Classic suburban husband, nothing flashy. For the first 7 or 8 years, things felt good. Comfortable. We had our routines. I brought her coffee every morning. She left me sticky notes on the bathroom mirror. We had our little inside jokes. It wasn't fireworks every day, but it felt solid. Then things started to shift. Subtly. Almost too subtle to notice at first. She started going to yoga more, like, a lot more. Twice a week turned into 4. Then she added massages to her routine. Said her back was killing her from all the stretching. Okay, fair enough. People change. Self-care is good, right? But she started coming home late. Smiling at her phone a little too much. Locking it, hiding it like she was guarding national secrets. And intimacy? Basically vanished. Every touch felt forced, like she was just checking a box. I brushed it off for a while. Told myself it was a phase. Stress, maybe? Hormones. A rough patch. But that nagging feeling in my gut? It wouldn't go away. Something just felt off. I really didn't want to be that guy. You know, the overthinking, overly suspicious husband who starts imagining affairs because his wife is suddenly into kale smoothies and hot yoga. I told myself I was just being weird, insecure, maybe even jealous that she was bettering herself while I was still the same guy binge-watching old episodes of The Office in sweatpants. But there was this one night, this one moment that really stuck with me. Claire was in the kitchen, texting someone. I walked in to grab a drink, and she jumped like I'd caught her stealing. I played it cool, said nothing, just reached past her for the orange juice. But I couldn't unsee the way she flipped her phone over when she noticed me looking. That screen went down fast like it was some kind of reflex. And the look on her face? Guilt. Just a flicker, but it was there. I asked her, jokingly, "What, you got a secret boyfriend or something?" She laughed a little too hard and said, "Pfft, please, who has time for that?" Then changed the subject like it never happened. That night I laid in bed, wide awake next to her. I stared at the ceiling thinking about all the weird little things that had been happening. The new perfume I hadn't picked out. The lingerie I hadn't seen her wear. Tags still on. The gym bag she kept locked in her trunk. And the fact that, despite all her new wellness habits, she was oddly secretive about everything. Still, I didn't want to accuse her of anything without proof. I didn't want to be wrong, because if I was, then I'd be the bad guy. The paranoid husband who cracked open a happy marriage just because things got a little unfamiliar. So I did the dumbest and smartest thing I could think of. I hired a private investigator. Yeah, I know. Sounds like something out of a bad movie. But I figured if I was wrong, he'd find nothing, and I could finally let it go. Move on. Work on our marriage like a grown adult instead of playing spy games in my head. I gave him a short brief. Just keep an eye on her for a week. Don't follow her into yoga class or anything creepy. Just track where she goes and who she meets. I even told him her schedule. Mondays and Thursdays were her massage days. And she had yoga classes twice a week with her best friend, Jess. Lunch dates on Fridays. Seemed innocent. A week passed. Then 2. When the investigator finally called me, I felt like I was going to puke. My heart was racing so fast I had to sit down. I braced myself for the worst. But then he said, "Honestly, she's clean, man. Clean. She went to yoga. She went to the spa. She had lunch with Jess. She went home. No secret hotel visits. No suspicious men lurking around. No clandestine late-night rendezvous. Just gym, yoga, restaurants, and massages, like she said. And for a moment, I felt relief, like maybe I really was losing it. Maybe I was so caught up in my own head. I started seeing shadows where there were none. But here's the thing. Even with all that so-called evidence, The pit in my stomach never really went away. I wanted to believe she was innocent. God, I really did. But deep down, something still didn't sit right. It all started with the damn grill. It was one of those classic suburban Saturday mornings. I was out back, half-dressed in cargo shorts and socks, feeling like a hero for finally deciding to clean up the patio. The old propane grill had been rusting in the corner for years, and I figured it was time to drag it into the garage, maybe fix the leg that wobbled, give it a second life. Huge mistake. The thing was heavier than I remembered, and I must have lifted it wrong, bent at the waist instead of the knees, like an idiot. I got it maybe 3 feet before I felt it. A white-hot bolt of pain shot through my lower back and dropped me straight onto the concrete like a sack of flour. There I was, face down on the patio, groaning and swearing while a squirrel stared at me like I just ruined its morning. Took me 5 full minutes to crawl back into the house. No dramatics, no yelling for help. Just quiet shame and an aching spine. I spent the rest of the day shuffling around the house like an old man, trying to tough it out. Claire was out running errands, probably yoga or brunch or one of her me-time things. By the time she got home, I was hunched over a heating pad, trying to act like I hadn't almost paralyzed myself moving barbecue equipment. She looked vaguely concerned when I told her what happened, but mostly annoyed that I didn't ask for help. "You should get a massage," she said, without missing a beat. "Seriously? You'll feel 100 times better." I shrugged it off at first, but by the next morning the pain had gotten worse. I couldn't stand up straight. Every step felt like someone was stabbing me in the spine with a fondue fork. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. It was the pizza delivery guy. Claire was upstairs, so I answered, and as usual, I was short a few bucks for the tip. I called up to her, "Hey, you got a 20 in your purse or something?" She didn't answer right away, so I figured I'd just grab it myself. Her bag was sitting on the kitchen counter, half open. I reached in, flipped open the zipper pouch where she usually kept cash, and that's when I saw it. A business card. Black, sleek, professionally printed. Minimalist design. No frills. Just a name, a number, and a logo embossed in silver. Marco, licensed massage therapist. Healing Hands Spa, appointments Monday through Saturday. It wasn't hidden, but it wasn't just floating around either. It was tucked into a little side pocket like it lived there. Like it belonged there. Now look, this might not sound suspicious to anyone else. But Claire? She's not a paper hoarder. She's digital everything, apps, reminders, e-wallets. She doesn't keep stuff in her purse unless it means something. I stared at the card for a moment, pizza guy still waiting at the door, and something about it just sat wrong. Maybe it was the name. Maybe it was the fact she never mentioned the spa by name. Just said she had a guy. Never said who. Never offered for me to go. 5 years of hearing about massages, and I didn't even know the place's name. I paid the delivery guy, closed the door, and sat down with that business card in my hand like it was a clue in a crime novel. Later that night, while Claire was upstairs, I looked up the spa online. Fancy place. Not cheap. Definitely not the kind of spot you casually go to twice a week for 5 years unless it's doing something for you. Something more than just relaxing muscles. So I figured, alright, my back's a mess anyway. Time to see what this Marco is all about. I didn't tell Claire. I just called the number on the card the next morning. The receptionist picked up and couldn't have been nicer. "Sure," she said, "we've got an opening tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Marco's available and he's excellent." I booked it without hesitation. And I had no idea I was walking straight into the most awkward, messed up, universe hand-picked moment of my life. When I pulled up to Healing Hands Spa, I half expected the place to be tucked behind a strip mall next to a vape shop or something. But no, this place looked like it belonged in a high-end travel magazine. Glass windows. Soft lighting. One of those water features by the door that serves no real purpose except to make you feel underdressed. Inside smelled like lemongrass and serenity. I walked up to the desk, trying not to look like a guy who'd just crawled out of a heating pad cocoon. The receptionist greeted me with that spa voice people do, soft, a little too soothing, like she was trying to hypnotize me. "You must be Daniel," she said with a smile. "Marco will be with you shortly. You're going to love him, he's our best." Great. I filled out a short intake form, sipped the cucumber water she gave me like I had any idea what I was doing, and waited. Couple minutes later, the door opens and in walks Marco. And let me tell you, this guy looked exactly like the type of man your wife would cheat on you with. Mid-30s. Tanned. Fit. Casual but confident. One of those guys with perfect stubble and the kind of smile that's both charming and mildly punchable. He had the vibe of a guy who does yoga on the beach at sunrise, then eats an acai bowl while posting deep quotes on Instagram. "Hey man," he said, offering a handshake. "I'm Marco." Let's see if we can't get that back feeling better. I nodded, tried to smile, but my brain was already spinning. He had no idea. Not a clue. Just saw me as another broken-down husband needing some relief. I followed him into the massage room. Dim lighting, spa music, all very calming, except I wasn't calm at all. My heart was pounding like a drum line, but I played it cool. Took off my shirt, laid face down, and tried to act like I wasn't quietly losing my mind. The massage started. And to his credit, he was good. Like really good. Within 10 minutes, I felt muscles I didn't even know I had start to relax. For a brief moment, I actually forgot why I was there. And then we started talking. Just small talk at first. What do you do? Oh cool, tech stuff. Must be stressful. You local? Just filler. Then he said, yeah, this job's wild. You meet all kinds of people. Everyone comes in with tension. Physical, emotional. Sometimes both. I said, I bet. People probably treat this like therapy, huh? He chuckled. Oh yeah. You'd be surprised what people tell me on this table. Affairs, breakdowns, whole midlife crises. I try to stay neutral, you know? I said nothing. Then he added, totally casually. Got one client, she's been coming here for years. Sweet, funny, drop-dead gorgeous. But man, her situation's messy. My throat tightened. Marco kept talking. She's married, but she's not happy. Her husband's this financially stable guy, treats her well, from what I gather. But emotionally? Checked out. She told me she doesn't work, so she stays because it's comfortable. He laughed a little under his breath, then said. Funny thing is, she and I kinda clicked. At first it was just sessions. Then, I don't know. Things evolved. It's been, 4-5 years now. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just stared at the floor through the face cradle, my blood boiling under the surface. He kept going like he was telling a buddy at a bar. She says she loves him in her own way, but she's not ready to leave. Says I give her what he doesn't. I know it's not ideal, but hey, not my place to judge, right? I could have stopped it. Could have sat up and screamed, that's my wife, you piece of shit. But I didn't. I let him finish the massage. Let him talk. Let him unknowingly confess to the man he was betraying with weekly back rubs and stolen hours. When the session was over, he smiled and said, take care, man. Come back anytime. I shook his hand. I paid in cash. I walked out of that spa calm. Quiet. Focused. Because now, I knew. No more doubts. No more theories. No more tinfoil hat paranoia. Claire wasn't just pulling away. She was sleeping with Marco. For 5 years. And now? It was my turn to make her feel very uncomfortable. I didn't go home swinging. I didn't kick down the front door or throw Claire's stuff onto the lawn like a bad soap opera. I walked in like nothing happened. She was in the kitchen, sipping tea and scrolling her phone. She looked up and said, how was the massage? I forced a smile. Pretty great, actually. Guy named Marco. You were right, they really know their stuff. She blinked. Just a flicker. But I caught it. Then she smiled back. Oh yeah. I think I've had him once or twice. He's good. Once or twice. Interesting. I filed that away without a word. The rest of the evening was bizarre. She was sweet. Engaged. Almost clingy, like she sensed a disturbance in the force and was trying to fix it without knowing exactly what was broken. She even snuggled up next to me on the couch while we watched a movie. First time in months. But I wasn't there with her anymore. I was in my head, clicking pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle I should have finished years ago. Because now everything made sense. The twice-weekly massages. The way she always left in yoga pants and came back glowing. The cash withdrawals she didn't explain. The lingerie I never saw. The sudden dip in our sex life. The secret smiles at her phone. The girls' nights that didn't always have pictures to back them up. And now? I had a name. A face. A confession served to me while I was lying half-naked under the guy's smug, cheating hands. I couldn't prove everything yet. But I didn't need a detective anymore. I needed a plan. So here's what I did. I started small. Quiet. First, I checked her phone when she was asleep. I hadn't done it before, but at this point, I had no moral hesitation left. She kept it locked, but she used the same passcode for everything. For digits. Birthday of her favorite cat. Pathetic, really? Once I was in, I didn't find anything explicit. No nudes. But I did find something better. Calendar entries. Recurring events labeled yoga and girls' lunch, Jess. Very neat. Very fake. I checked the times against when I knew she had appointments at Healing Hands. It was a perfect match. Twice a week. For years. I even found an old saved note with the spa's address and Emre heart next to it. It was dated back almost 4 years. I screenshotted everything. Backed up what I could. I wasn't going to confront her with it yet. No big explosive scene. Not yet. Then I called the spa again. Spoke to the same receptionist. Told her I wanted to book another session with Marco, said I had some follow-up questions about my last massage. She said of course he'd be happy to see me again. I didn't actually go. Instead, I used a different number to call again, this time asking questions about Claire's appointments. I pretended to be her assistant trying to confirm her schedule. And wouldn't you know it? They gave it to me. Name, standing appointments, exact time slots, Thursdays and Mondays at 11:30. Just like clockwork. It was airtight. Claire had been getting her therapeutic release on Marco's table twice a week while I was working and thinking we were just hitting a dull patch in our marriage. So I decided to return the favor. I emailed Marco directly. The spa site had a contact form that went to his work address. I made it casual. Told him I really appreciated his work and wanted to say thanks. Told him I had a great time chatting and that we should hang out sometime, grab a beer, talk more about stress and life and, all the stuff he helps people with. He responded 2 hours later. Super friendly. Said he was always down to hang. Thought I was a cool dude and appreciated the energy. I nearly choked on my own bitterness reading it. But I replied. Said I'd love to have him over for dinner. My wife was interested in meeting the guy who fixed my back. I hit send. And waited. Because I knew he'd say yes. He'd want to meet the husband. The irony? He was about to walk into my house. With both feet. I didn't tell Claire who was coming to dinner. Just said I met someone new, we hit it off, and I thought it'd be nice to have him over. That was it. She raised an eyebrow when I mentioned it, but I shrugged it off like it was no big deal. Oh, she said slowly. What's his name? I pretended to think for a second like I'd just forgotten. Mark something, I said casually. Marco, maybe? Something like that. Cool guy. Her face didn't change. Not at first. But I caught it, that microscopic shift in her expression. Like a flicker behind the eyes, just for a second before she plastered on a smile and said, oh. Cool. And just like that, the hook was in. For the next few days, I acted completely normal. Hell, I went above normal. I cooked dinner. I cleaned. I made her coffee in the morning with that cinnamon she likes. I even offered to rub her back one night, which might have been the most suspicious thing I've ever done in our marriage. She declined, of course. She was rattled. She didn't know why. But deep down, I think she felt it coming. Thursday night rolled around. I made homemade lasagna, her favorite. Set the table, lit some candles, even broke out the good wine. She came downstairs in a dress I hadn't seen in a while. Heels, full makeup, everything. Looking stunning and way too prepared for a casual dinner with some guy she'd supposedly never met. And I was playing it cool. Calm. Collected. A man with a plan. Then, right around 7 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I was in the kitchen finishing the salad when I called out, "Can you grab that, babe? Should be our guest." She walked to the front door, completely unaware. I peeked around the corner just in time to see her pull it open. And the moment her eyes landed on him, she froze. Like someone had hit the pause button on her entire body. And Marco, that smooth, clueless bastard, just smiled and said, "Hey, Claire, right? Wow, small world. Didn't expect to see you here." I swear to God, I saw her soul leave her body. She glanced back at me, her face pale, eyes wide. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. I just smiled. "Surprise," I said from the dining room. Marco, still grinning like an idiot, stepped inside, holding a bottle of wine. "Man, thanks again for inviting me. Smells amazing in here." Claire looked like she was about to throw up. I motioned to the table. "Come on in. Make yourself at home." Marco followed me to the dining room, completely oblivious. Claire trailed behind, silent. She sat down across from me, hands folded in her lap like a kid waiting for a principal's verdict. I poured wine. Served the lasagna. Small talk started, mostly from me and Marco. He talked about how he got into massage therapy, how much he loved helping people, how some clients really open up to him. I watched Claire the entire time. Her face was frozen in this terrifying hybrid of panic and dread. Then, halfway through the meal, I looked up and said, "So Marco, do you remember all your clients?" He nodded. "Most of them. Especially the regulars." I turned to Claire and said, "That's impressive, huh? I mean, twice a week for years, you'd think that might be memorable." She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. I leaned back in my chair and took a sip of wine. And for the first time in months, I felt relaxed. Because now we were finally at the table. And it was almost time to eat the truth. You ever watch someone try to act normal while their entire world is collapsing inside their head? That was Claire. She barely touched her food. Just moved her fork around like she was sculpting lasagna instead of eating it. Marco, still unaware, was chatting away like he was at a wine tasting. Telling stories about crazy clients and spa drama like he was auditioning for a Bravo show. I let him go on. Let him dig that hole inch by inch. Claire kept her eyes on her plate. Her breathing was shallow like she was waiting for a bomb to go off because, well, she was. I took my time. Ate slowly. Sipped my wine like I had nowhere to be and all the time in the world to savor every awkward second. Then, after Marco told a story about a woman who once cried through an entire hot stone massage, I leaned forward and said, "Real casual. Man. It must be wild having clients who get so personal with you." He smiled and nodded. "Oh yeah. Happens all the time. Some even fall for you, I bet." That's when Marco paused. Not long, maybe half a second, but long enough for the mood to shift. The smile faltered. His eyes flicked over to Claire, then back to me. Claire's hand tightened around her wine glass like she was deciding whether to drink it or smash it over someone's head. So I pushed a little more. I turned to Claire and said, "You ever talk to Marco about your husband?" On the table, silence. I didn't wait for an answer. I turned back to Marco, smiling like we were just old pals chatting. You probably hear all kinds of things, like how someone's husband pays for everything, but doesn't connect emotionally. Or how she's just staying because it's convenient. Marco's face changed. Slowly. It was like watching a computer buffering, the realization loading bit by bit until it hit 100%. And when it did, boom, his eyes went wide. His jaw tightened. He turned and looked at Claire, then back at me. "Wait." That was all he said. Just wait. Like he was finally connecting dots that had been there all along. Claire finally spoke. Her voice was small, brittle. "Dan, please." I cut her off. Calm. Controlled. Ice cold. "I know, Claire. I know everything." Then I looked Marco dead in the eyes. "You've been sleeping with my wife for 5 years. I got the full story last week. When you gave me that massage. When you told me about your married client who doesn't want to leave her husband because he takes care of her." Silence. Heavy. Awful. The kind that sucks the oxygen right out of the room. Marco looked like he'd just swallowed a cactus. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again. No words came out. Claire looked at me like she wanted to crawl under the table and disappear. I leaned back in my chair and finished my wine. Then I stood up. Dinner was over. "Claire," I said, "I want you out. Tonight." She tried to speak. Something between a sob and an excuse. But I raised my hand. "Don't. Just don't. Save it for someone who didn't already hear your boyfriend's version first." I turned to Marco. "You can leave now. And if you've got any brains at all, you'll never come near this house again." He stood slowly. Didn't say a word. Just looked between the two of us. Stunned. Like a guy who realized too late that the house he broke into had security cameras. They left. Not together, separately. She grabbed her purse and keys and bolted. He followed not long after, bottle of wine still unopened on the table like a monument to his stupidity. I stood alone in the dining room, surrounded by the smell of garlic and betrayal. The candles flickered. The plates were half full. And for the first time in years, I wasn't confused anymore. I was angry, but more than that, I was free. It started the very next morning. Claire texted me before the sun came up. "Can we talk? Please." I ignored it. An hour later, another one came in. "I'm sorry. I messed up. You're right to be angry." By noon, I had 6 unread messages, 2 voicemails, and a long-ass email titled, "For What It's Worth." I didn't open it. I didn't need to. There's nothing left to say when someone spends 5 years lying to your face while smiling over breakfast. That night, she showed up. Just rang the doorbell like it was a regular Thursday. I looked through the peephole and saw her standing there. Hair down, no makeup. Hoodie I hadn't seen her wear in years. She looked like someone who hadn't slept. Maybe she hadn't. I cracked the door. She tried to smile. "Can we talk? Please." I didn't say a word. Just stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind me. She started slow. Apologies. Regret. How it was a mistake. How Marco didn't mean anything. How it was just physical. How she never stopped loving me. How she didn't know how to stop it once it started. I stood there, arms crossed, waiting for her to finish. She tried to grab my hand. Pulled away. You lied for 5 years, Claire. I said, voice low, steady. You didn't slip up once. You built a whole routine around it. You built a second life. So don't stand there and act like this was a mistake. It was a decision. Over and over. She started crying. I didn't flinch. You didn't love me, I continued. You loved the life. You loved the security. You loved having me as your husband while screwing your massage therapist on the side. She opened her mouth to say something, but I cut her off. And the worst part? I trusted you. I never even questioned it. That's what pisses me off the most. You let me sit at that table and smile across from a man who's been sleeping with my wife, and you thought I'd never know. She broke, like full sobbing, begging, said she'd leave him, said we could start therapy, that we could come back from this. I almost laughed. She wanted a second chance. But I was already working on something else. See, while she was standing there crying on my porch, I'd already submitted a formal complaint to the State Board of Massage Therapy. Took me less than 30 minutes. Marco's name, the spa name, the dates of appointments, and a detailed account of what he told me while I was on his table. Professional misconduct. Violation of ethics. Exploiting a long-term client relationship. Easy case. I attached screenshots. The spa's site with his credentials. A transcript of what I remembered him saying. Dates, times, and a very polite closing line. This man should not be practicing. I hit submit right before she rang the bell. So while she was trying to fix a marriage she lit on fire, I was already lighting the match on her boyfriend's career. She cried. I listened. Then I looked her dead in the eyes and said, I'm not coming back. And neither is he. I turned around, walked inside, locked the door, didn't look back. She stood on the porch for a while. But eventually, she left. The morning after she stood crying on my porch, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to a divorce attorney. The second was to my bank. If Claire wanted to play this game for 5 years, she could live with the final score. The lawyer was sharp, recommended by a buddy of mine who'd gone through a nasty split last year. First thing she asked was, does she work? I said, not in years. She smiled. And you've been covering the house, bills, car? Everything, I said. She leaned back in her chair like a wolf who just spotted a limping deer. Let's get to work. Within 48 hours, we filed. Uncontested because Claire didn't want things going public. Didn't want to drag out the affair in court documents. Didn't want to risk me leaking her little soap opera to our friends, our families, or worse, her parents who had always thought I was too basic for their daughter anyway. I had already changed the locks. She asked if she could come get some things. I said, give me a list. I'll box them up. She tried the whole sentimental route again. Said she didn't want money. Said she just wanted me. Too bad. Because I wanted justice. And legally, I had leverage. She cheated. She had no income. And the lawyer, bless her ruthless soul, made sure we outlined every expense I'd covered. Every asset I'd purchased. Every account her name was attached to. We divided everything right down the line. Except my line was drawn a little further to the right. The house? Mine. I paid for it. Every damn brick. The car? Mine too. Bought and paid in my name. The joint accounts? Drained. Legally. Transferred to a personal account the minute we filed. Her clothes, her little luxuries, her wine subscription, her yoga membership? Cancelled, refunded, returned. By the end of the month, all she had was a suitcase, a few apology emails I never answered, and a boyfriend who was suddenly under state investigation for losing his license over boundary violations. Oh yeah, the massage board got back to me. They suspended Marco's license pending a formal hearing. Apparently, banging a married client for half a decade while pretending to be a health professional violates, like, every single code of ethics they have. Who would have thought? Claire called again when that news hit. Voicemail only. You didn't have to destroy his life too. Nah, I didn't have to, but I wanted to, because for 5 years I was loyal. I was patient. I was dependable. I showed up. I provided. I loved her, even when it was one-sided. And for 5 years, she took that love and handed it off like a tip after a massage. So no, I don't feel bad. I feel free. I feel whole. And you know what? Yeah, my back still hurts sometimes. But at least now I know it wasn't the grill. It was carrying the weight of a woman who stopped loving me long before I stopped loving her. And now, she can carry that herself.